Now, what is a tax? As we have discussed about the government's various responsibilities, various things which has to be taken care by the government, we have learned that government needs a lot of revenue for that. So in this government's revenue, we have tax. The tax is a major source of revenue for the government's expenditure. This is income through which the government starts to expand or plans according to the tax what we are paying for that. So again, in these taxes we have two categories of taxation. One is direct tax, the other one is indirect tax. Moving on to indirect taxes first, see here, under the indirect taxes we have the categories like excise duty tax, then the Vat tax, then we have sales tax, customs tax. For example, if you go to buy any television set, the company which produces the television set has to pay certain amount of tax to the government at the factory point. That tax is called excise duty tax. The government, for example, if it pays 10,000 as a cost of making, then it has to pay a certain amount like 1200 to 1500 as the amount of excise duty tax. When the things are, this amount is paid, obviously it gets added for the customer who is getting to buy that one, because the factory does not bear the cost of taxation. Next, for example, we have a sheet here which shows for us all the taxation details. See here, the cost of manufacturing of a TV is rupees 10,000. Then we have the excise duty tax of 1200. Then again we have transport of from one place to another place cost 1000 rupees. After it reaches to the transport place, again we have the profit of the local dealer. He takes it for 1000 rupees. Then one more tax is there which is hidden, that is the sales tax. When the shopkeeper starts to sell the product, he has to pay tax for the government. That is again added to the consumer who takes it. So we get added for the sales tax. So totally the product of the cost which was made as 10,000 at the manufacturing unit, by the time you get it, it becomes 14,850 rupees. This is the way how the taxation money is collected. From here, they pay tax to the government in the form of excise duty tax and sales tax. Actually, excise duty tax and sales tax, both of them are paid to the government, but indirectly they are paid by us to the government. Directly they are paid by the companies, indirectly we are paying them. Moving on to the other taxes, the major tax what we have is whenever we go to any shop and we purchase anything, we get to pay the sales tax. When we take a bill of a receipt of anything, you get that one down percentage recorded in the sales tax 10%. For example, you buy any item of 10,000 rupees, the sales tax would be nearly 10%. Then you have to pay that 10% amount extra for that, and you have to clear the bill and come. This sales tax is maintained by the shops, and the shops always maintain two ledgers or two registers, which are again, one is the person who asks the bill, one is the fake bills who don't pay the sales tax, so that the money gets accumulated with them, and the money for what we are not paying the tax is known as black money. This black money is found very predominantly in India, because they don't like to pay taxes, they don't reveal their actual incomes, and even most of the people who are scared of these kind of taxes, they don't like to pay taxes. Obviously, those people also don't like to take the receipts. So this all comes under the category of the black money. And next, we have one more important tax which has gained recently a good momentum, that is the Vat tax or value added tax. When we buy any item of a product of rupees 10,000 rupees, in that if the VAT is 5%, you have to pay 10,200 rupees as a Vat tax. So this 10,200 rupees paying as a Vat tax will get for us a charge of amount, but actually this has to be paid by the person who is taking the product. Like the same case with the consumer. Now the value added tax is for all the services whatever we do it. We have service tax, again we have the value added tax. The percentage of service tax and value added taxes are increasing nowadays, because it has become to 12.5% to 14% in some of the conditions. Like when we move on to a restaurant, we have to pay from 12.5% to 14% as a VAT tax of the bill. This is really an extraordinary amount as a source of income for the government. And again, this also depends on the people who pay the bill. because most of the people try to escape from the bills and evade from the bills. This is creating a big hurdle in India, especially for the development of the nation. And the last but not the least, we have the customs duty tax. For example, if you go to abroad and when you are coming to India, at the airport we have the customs authorities who check the products. For example, if you buy gold from Dubai and you are coming back, you have to pay the customs duty tax for that, and you have to get it cleared in the airport authorities, stamp it, then only you can get the product outside. If not, you will be confiscated by the customs authority of India. So like this, we have various kinds of indirect taxes which play a vital role and which are paid by us solely but indirectly. Then moving on to the direct taxes. We have the direct taxes again in two categories, that is the corporate tax, the income tax. The corporate tax is a tax which is collected by a company which runs the business. If you manufacture any product, after the entire expenditure is deducted, salaries are paid, among the profits what you get, you have to pay certain amount of tax to the government from your profitable share. This is called corporate tax. This corporate tax will be increased every year by the government in the budgetary sessions. Next, moving on to the income tax. This is the income tax which is maintained by every individual whose income is crossing a certain amount of limit has to pay the tax. This income crossing a certain amount of limit is determined by the government. Regularly it was 2.5 lakhs, now it has been gone up to 3 lakhs. So a person who earns more than 3 lakhs is compelled and bound to pay the income tax depending on the salary what he gets. As the salaries are credited through the banks, it is very easy for them to find out, but it is the duty of every individual to file a case of returns for the IT department, and it has to be paid for them. Nearly 114 lakh individuals have filed their IT returns in the previous year, which was becoming a very tough task for the government of India, because most of them don't try to reveal their original incomes, they try to prove the fake or less incomes so that they can escape from the income tax. How far is it justified, the fairness of taxation? If a same kind of taxation is fixed for the rich and the poor, obviously the poor feels the pinch of it rather than the rich. Rich feels more comfortable because he is deducted a very less amount of tax. But when we see the products prices are increased, for example, we have seen the indirect taxes. It may be an excise duty tax, or it may be a sales tax, it may be a VAT tax, or it may be any other customs duty tax. Ultimately, the tax is to be borne by the consumer who takes the product. It is not the person who produces the product. So it is very simple that the poor people, when they start to buy an item, obviously they feel it's very costly because they can't pay the taxes altogether at a stretch. Whereas the rich person feels very comfortable because for him it is very manageable amount. In the same way, so in order to get the actual idea of which tax to be increased or the product of taxation to be done on what kind of products and what not, then they have decided to think about the products which are like food, oil, rice, all these items, eatable items which are required daily for all the people, it may, irrespective of rich and poor, on that products the taxation should be very less. Then we can move on to the other products like laptops, cars, ACs, refrigerators, which are the symbol of luxury, obviously leads them towards finding the luxury items, and this poor man can't afford it, maximum only the rich can be able to afford this one. So this kind of justification was done earlier, and they have increased the taxation for the luxurious products. But once the luxurious products price was increased, they came to a close observation that the poor are more in India and the rich are a bit less in India in the numbers, and the taxation is restricted only to the rich people, which obviously leads to very few people paying the taxation, and the income of government is becoming very less. So if majority of people are left out from paying the taxation, obviously it leads to less amount of income for the government. So the government decided a few products has to be increased the prices, it may be irrespective of the rich and the poor. In the same way, generally we feel like if the petrol prices are hiked, all the other products price will be automatically be hiked. So that effect will be felt on all people, it is irrespective of rich and poor. So the pinch is felt for poor more when compared to the rich because of the incomes what they earn. Poor falls under the category where he is having less income, rich falls under the category where he earns huge income. So now Even though the incomes are different, both have to buy the same product, obviously the government gets more amount of income for that. So this is the reason why the fairness of taxation has been discussed continuously whenever there is a budget session, and especially on the date of February 28th when the budget was introduced in the parliament by the finance minister. The people, media, all people try to focus and discuss about the issues which has to be brought to the attention of the government and try to reduce the taxation on the poor people to lessen the burden, but maximum they try to level to do it, but government also has certain amount of restrictions which they have to fulfill, and they have to have certain strong income to ensure the other activities to be done. So in this way the taxation has not yet been finalized, but there is a huge debate in the month of March in regards to taxation. And moving on to the collection of taxation. When we discuss about the collection of taxation, we move on to the different kinds of taxations. How can the tax be collected? We have discussed about the direct taxes and the indirect taxes. The direct taxes have become very difficult for them to collect when compared to the indirect taxes, because the indirect taxes are collected from the factories, the shopkeepers, the shop outlets, retail shop owners, and the customs airports authorities. These are the places where it should be must be paid this kind of taxes, and they easily collect the taxes, especially the indirect taxes. When we move on to the direct taxes, it may be the corporate tax or the income tax. The corporate tax, the most of the companies try to bluff the results and they show the income was very less. Their profitable income was also considerably low when compared to filing the nomination papers or the income tax papers. And coming to income tax of an individual, it has become very difficult because every individual has to file his income tax returns, and out of 121 crore people where there are no fixed outlets of filing the income tax, everybody has to file the income tax at their respective places, and everybody cannot be reached by the government of India at a single stretch. So it takes a lot of time for the government to trace the defaulters of the income tax, and most of the people try to show their income very less, and those who are non-salaried employees like the businessmen who get more amount of incomes but it cannot be shown in anywhere, so they try to prove their income is very low and they escape from the taxes. The collection and evasion of the taxes, where the IT department has successfully brought 114 lakh people, individuals filing their IT returns to the government and paying the taxes fairly, but still there is a large number where the turnouts are very less, and we have a big growing dissatisfaction regards the color of black and the money. That is nothing but the black money for which the income tax was not filed or the tax has not been paid for certain amount. That is called the black money, where the people try to hide their original incomes and try to showcase the duplicate incomes or very low income in order to escape from the IT department. This is fairly being wrong on the part of the Indians, especially because most of the Indians try to or show their income and reduce the low income group. They fall into low income group, but they really enjoy more privileges and they belong to higher income groups. But when it comes to IT department, they don't reveal their incomes at all. And this is a very tragic part. That is the reason why the black money is growing in India very fast when compared to any other businesses or any other issues. But moving on to the fairness of taxation and the evaluation of taxation and collection of taxation, actually, it has become very easy for the government to collect the indirect taxes rather than the direct taxes. The indirect taxes are collected directly when a product is being made, when a product is being sold, when the products have been imported from the other countries, and when the product has been experienced or services are being rendered, they are compulsorily bound to pay the taxes. It may be the excise duty tax, sales tax, customs duty tax, or the VAT, value added services tax. So these all has become very easy for the collection of the government, but even here we have the people, those who evade the tax. Those people are like, they try to evade it even in the airport authority customs duties, and they try to evade it at the places of the manufacturing units. They show the less number of production. They try to show the fake bills or don't give bills for the most of the customers, so they need not pay the sales tax. They hide the production of their sale and they show very less income of the shops. So these all are the various sources how to escape from the taxes. Let us hope all the people in India will surely pay taxes and put their hand in the progress and the development of the nation.